Hey folks, thanks for joining me on this mega lesson workshop. It's the Bird Blues. Let's get started. We are live. Testing 1, 2, 3. Good to see everybody. Wow. Thanks for joining me. Special one-day workshop. 2 hours. Sometimes we extend it to 5 hours. Just kidding. We've got a lot to cover today for this Bird Blues workshop. Bird Blues meaning Charlie Parker, of course, and it's based off of his tune Blues for Alice. And a lot of people use these changes for the jazz blues in whatever key. It doesn't matter. They're basically just substitute chord changes. So we're going to kind of start with that topic first. You have 4 chord melody etudes. 4 single note soloing. I know I go overboard with these workshops because I know we don't even cover all of it sometimes, but I'll try my best. And you know, it's kind of more of a demonstration often, but I know that these workshops will last you a while in the concept. So it's important to have some good materials that demonstrate these concepts. 4 chord melody solos, 4 single note solos. You have the melody and the tune Blues for Alice that you can always work on, of course, too, and play along with Charlie Parker, which is what I recommend to learn how to get that timing, the phrasing, the feel of it, and to learn the basic chords too. So that's what you're going to see. I'm actually going to send everybody what I just did on Soundslice is put it all together. And I'm going to start doing this more. I think this helps often. Well, I think it helps, period, to see the big picture, to play the melody one time through, to play my solo etudes, to play the chord melody etudes, and then play the melody out. So you actually are going through it 10 times, the forms. We're really just going to be dissecting ideas. And then for practice, you can try to work on keeping it continuous, flowing as a solo. Start off slow. I mean, it's just a good exercise. And that's what I'm going to start doing in general for these songs and etudes, is to have these kind of mega lesson style practice videos for you. I don't necessarily play through it. The melody is actually quite complex. You'll see my solos are another level down from the Charlie Parker. They're kind of more of an etude, but they're definitely written with soloing in mind. Like there's a lot of the bebop elements and the phrasing of it. So they're not easy is what I'm saying. They're going to require some counting and you know, things like that too. A lot of the bebop techniques is not a beginner improv. I wouldn't recommend it for, you know, jazz beginners. I would say, you know, study some early swing music. I mean, there's a natural progression to it, you know, so definitely it's not a beginner style of improvisation. It's very decorative and very involved, meaning you should know your basic arpeggios. You should know how to decorate around the chord tones, embellish, and then we start to add chromaticism, a lot of syncopation, a lot of anticipation. I didn't have too many 16th notes involved, if any, really. They're more triplet based, so it's more in that standard style, but a lot of times they'll kick in a double time, especially with Charlie Parker. Okay, so here we go. Enough talk. That was the general overview talk there, a little spiel. We're going to look at the Soundslice, and this is, again, like I said, I have it all on here right now. I have the melody to Blues for Alice. And then I have my etudes. It starts off with the single note solos, 4 choruses, and then it kicks into the chord melody, 4 choruses. And I already, as you can see, I have most of those grids on top. And then it kicks it to the melody out. Okay. Okay. And that's it. And if you push play on this, just to show you here, it's going to just play back in a computer format. We'll check this out a little bit here. And of course, you can slow down the tempo if you're practicing it. And then here's my etudes, just so you can get an idea. And one of the things I usually say one of the things I usually say, the only bad thing about this playback is that they don't have a good swing feel. It's rather extreme. It's either going to be straight like we're hearing right now, or it's too much of a swing feel, which is extreme, like da 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 da, and that's not the feel that I want. I'd rather have it closer to straight. So like even on this lick here, just to, that's all pretty straight, but I would do it you know, versus this that's pretty straight what the computer's playing. So you're going to interpret it and add your own level of swing. That's just how it is when you're in this synthetic mode. Swing for these eighth notes as a triplet feel. Okay, so then there's, I'm just showing you, it kicks in at the end of the solo here, it's single notes. And then it kicks into chord melody. And then for me, this allows me to demonstrate what I'm thinking harmonically, adding nines, adding some colors, anticipation, rhythm still, that goes beyond just a single note soloing. So it kind of really, we get the full spectrum here, because I'm doing some things harmonically in the chords that I'm not doing with the single notes, and vice versa. Okay, obviously you're not gonna play all these single notes as chords, you know, that's would be ridiculous rhythmically and chord wise. So again, it's a nice balance that you'll have for studying these chord solos and then the single note solos separately. Here we go. We're in the key of F. We're going to analyze it here. We're in the key of F major, and this is a blues, a 12-bar blues, but there's a lot of substitutions. So we've got the one chord, okay? And our goal here is to get to the 4 chord over here. So in the key of F, the 4 is B flat. But what Charlie Parker did here is to do some 2-5 cycling. So if you think about where you're going to arrive to, B flat, and if you said, well, what's the 2-5 that would lead us to B flat? It would be C minor to F7. Okay, C minor, F7, B flat would be this. And I did a major 7. Some people play major 7. Some people play 6s. Some people play a dominant 7, which is what I wrote. 2, 5 to the 4 chord. In the blues, it's pretty common to do a dominant for the 4. But don't be surprised if you're playing with players and they put a major 7 there. Probably because it's in some books. But again, you could do a 6 chord. That would be the safest thing to do. And if you think about you want to get to the 4, you put a 2-5 in front of the 4. But in front of that 2-5, you put another 2-5. So G is the 5 of C. Okay? So that's a 2-5. You can think of it as a 3-6-2-5 going to B flat. So that would be this now. D minor 7, G7, C minor 7, F7, and then B flat. So it creates a chain of 2-5s. Well, guess what? In front of that 2-5, you put yet another 2-5. Notice it's the half diminished here, the minor 7 flat 5. It could be minor 7, but typically it's minor 7 flat 5, as if you're diatonic to the key of F, which that would be the 7 chord. But it's really what they would call a pivot chord. It's really acting now as a 2-5 to the 3 of the big picture, or I shouldn't even say that, but of the 4 chord. Okay, this is, so you're now getting a chain 2-5, 2-5, 2-5, the real 2-5 of the 4. That's often called back cycling, is that you're going back. And these, a lot of players just think of these as just the dominant chords moving down, but we'll call this right now 2-5, 2-5, 2-5 to the 4. And I recommend that you play your chords if you don't already know these basic chords. 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5. And notice I'm just saying 2-5, 2-5 to the 4. So again, that's very important. And hopefully you've already checked out the lead sheet for our Blues for Alice. Lead sheet meaning the sound slice, because it's on there, the chord shapes. And then B flat 7, or B flat 6, or even B flat major 7. Okay, I just wanted to remind you that the 4 chord can be any of those, or B flat 9, or B flat 13. You know, I would do a 13th chord often. So again, I do recommend, even though we're going to go into the soloing concepts, you got to understand the chord progression first. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. You got your 1 chord, and then watch where I'm playing the 1, and then watch this half step below. That sets you up for the whole chain right there. So you got 2, 5, 2, 5. See what I'm just saying? 2 5s. And you can. This is a great basic way of playing the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's just again a basic comping version of it. Now, once we arrive to that 4, again, that could be major. It's not minor, okay? Now it turns to minor. And then we're on to a whole nother chain of 2 5s. So again, learning this, you will master 2 5s. Licks, chords, substitutions, there's a lot of 2 5s. So once you're on that 4 chord, you play that as measure 5, like on a regular blues, you're going to be on the 4 chord. So again, you could substitute these changes when you're jamming with others on a 12-bar blues. You could do this for your soloing, and it sounds hip to throw in these. Even if the band is not doing it, your logic makes sense if you're following these changes. And my etudes pretty much follow these changes for this. Turn that 4 to minor, and now it's a minor, 2, 5. And now what Parker is doing is going chromatically down. That's called tritone substitution, essentially, when you're going down chromatically. So basically, we want to arrive to the G minor. Why? G minor is the 2 of F major. And then once you get to that 2, it just goes 2, 5. Again, in the key of F. And then finally the turnaround, 1, 6, 2, 5. And of course, there's a lot of subs for 1, 6, 2, 5. I hope you know some of them, the most common being 3, 6, 2, 5, and then 3, flat 3, 2, flat 3. Again, that's just all 1, 6, 2, 5. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but not too much. But that's all in my rhythm changes studies, and that was in that B flat blues study that I know many of you were at. So what's fun to do here is to work on this chromatic 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5. This. And then once you arrive at the real 2, you hang on it for a full measure. And that would be in that 12-bar blues or measure 9. Okay. So this is where all the excitement happens. You have the 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 5, chromatic 2, 5, and that's all tritone substitution to the real 2, 5. I put a sharp 9, purple haze, of course, and then I'm going to do 1, 6, 2, 5 as dom. Oh, I wrote major here, but often you'll see it as dominance. Take liberties here. I'm as written, it'd be this. And of course, I sharp 9 these chords here, and I hope you know that you can alter these dominants any way you want. And if you want a bluesier feel, this is a blues, by the way, make the 1 dominant, make the 2 dominant. And then when you resolve it to the top, major 7. That's the thing about the bird blues, is that you want that major 7 chord for the 1, okay? So again, or you could do some subs. There's your chain. Major 7, 2, 5, chromatic 2, 5, chromatic 2. By the way, I'm choosing minor 11s. You could fancy up the chords all you want. And then 2. Turn around. see my little chord melody ideas in those chord solos. That's the basic analysis of the chord progression. Tritone substitution, the general rule is that you could substitute any dominant chord with another dominant chord a tritone way. And a tritone is 3 whole tones, okay? Or I usually say flat 5. You find your flat 5 and you go, so know your intervals. I'm just kind of saying that, but it creates a chromatic line, chromatic movement. But what we're really doing here is this chord here, D flat 7. What is, to me, I'm thinking, what is D flat, the flat 5 of, the substitution? And I always demonstrate this. You'll see this when you hear my videos. In general, I'll go tritone. I always play, like very Django. So D flat 7 is a substitute for, you got it? G7, right? That's a tritone sub there. G7, so D7 to G7. So what he's doing here is creating the dominant cycle. Now I should almost load up the circle of fifths. But if you were to look at the circle of fifths, going backwards, not in fifths, it's actually in fourths, it would be D, G, C, F, B flat. You're going in that direction of fourths. So really, this is a sub for G7, D7 to the G7. What we want to get to is C7 here. But then he sets it up with the 2-5, which is common. This is a prolongation, the 4 of the real 5 of F. So if you back, I'm just kind of analyzing this a little bit further, but if you backtrack in front of this and you think about, well, what goes in front of D7? A7, okay? So it'd be this. Well, what's a tritone of A7? It's E flat 7, okay? So that's why from here, it starts this chain of the chromatic. And I'm just looking at the dominant. See the dominant E flat 7, D7, D flat 7, and then if you skip this and went to C7, you have this walk down. Just dominance. But the 2 chord thrown in front of it gives it some harmonic movement, harmonic rhythm they call it. So it's the 2-5, and then that's the thing, is that's really nice. 2 5 2 5 2 5 2, and then the longer. So I hope that helps you with the explanation. I know many of you are learning about tritone sub, and I would just say you overuse it. Use it on every jazz standard until you get sick of tritone sub. Autumn Leaves, All the Things You Are, All of Me, whatever. Just throw it in as much as you can. Think about what the real dominant chord is, and then think about what the tritone subdominant chord is. But don't stop there. Put the 2 chord in front of it, and then you get those 2-5 sequences. And then you're going to learn, as I passed out that worksheet on these 2-5 licks, or in this case, if I'm following, sorry, I'll show you. I'm not necessarily going through this today, but if I started that chain of 2-5s, you'd have phrases that sound like this. Okay, or maybe, whatever the lick happens to be. It might be, let's see, on B flat minor 7. Then G. So again, these 2-5 licks, they sound so good, from Charlie Parker to Wes Montgomery, George Benson, whoever. These are the vocabulary, those phrases. And I sent out that worksheet of essential 2-5 licks. You're going to see some of those here, but I didn't want to make these solos just a bunch of etudes. Well, they are etudes, but I wanted it more of a solo, cohesive, like the B flat blues workshop many of you took again. They were very musical. Not just running up and down scales or arpeggios. Those are like etude arpeggio studies, but this is, to me, is emulating, hey, this is what I would want to be playing for a solo, if I had the time to slow it all down and think about it. So that's what you're getting today. I do recommend working on those arpeggios, and I would say start off with, and I should actually see your hands here. I should see all of your faces here. I'm going to get off this for a second. So how many of you feel comfortable with easy arpeggios, my easy arpeggio method? And I don't know if, again, that's not enough hands. Easy arpeggios means, okay, good, thank you. Now you're all just raising your hands. And it's basically just a 1 octave arpeggio, just face value. So if you see F major 7, and it could be in any octave, but I'll just do it here. Okay, just going boo-ba-doo-bee-bee, just arpeggiating it. That's what I would call easy arpeggios, just to be able to outline the chord. And I just do it. And then E minor 7, flat 5, I'm gonna do it here. A7, D minor 7, G7, C minor 7, F7, B flat 7. Maybe a little lick there. But even something like that, that's a very good place to get used to starting before you try to work on solos. That helps reinforce the progression. Okay, just to outline the progression. That's easy arpeggios. I do recommend that. We're not going to do that today, but please be able to do that. And this progression is pretty intense. It's much more intense than playing minor swing or Sweet Georgia Brown. It's very intense, so that's why you're here again, is to, kick it up a notch. But I don't also want to discourage you by saying it's easy, because it's not. This progression really is great for you to work on, especially all those 2 5s. But I hope you see the logic of it too. And then the next thing I would say is work on this progression in different keys, so that you kind of really understand. So I'm going to put myself on the spot, but if I was thinking key of C, we have C major. And then, like I said, go down a half step, 2, 5, 2, 5, 2, 5, and to the 4. Now, once I'm on the 4 chord, I'm on F major. I'm just demonstrating the key of C. I'm going to go up here for the guitar. That turns to minor. 2, 5, chromatic, 2, 5, chromatic, 2, 5, to the real 2, D minor 7, G7, and then the turnaround 1, 6, 2, 5. This is key of C. That's the 1, down a half step. Okay, and then it becomes a chain, 2. And then again, I'm thinking, okay, I better arpeggiate through that for practice, C, etc. Work through it in different keys after you kind of get the key of F down and understand the chord sequence there, the movements. Do a single note. Okay, single notes are a lot more involved, so that's good that we're not spending too much time in. Wow, all I can say.